Hello all. I'm about to plant my sweet potatoes, so that's going to be the main theme of this video, but I wanted to start over here. This is my husband's hop plant that we published a video recently that our hops are finally hopped, or something to that effect. Luke followed what he was supposed to do with hops all along. This year he was to the point where he's like, we're just going to rip it out. It's not forming any hops. And so he didn't trim it back like he thought he was supposed to. And it is covered in blossoms. They are beautiful. It smells amazing. The bumblebees and butterflies have been all over this, but I just felt like I wanted to show you how beautiful these are before I head to the garden to plant some sweet potatoes. All right, I grabbed one of my sweet potatoes. We've got many, multiple plants on this, but we've got many. And this is where we're going to start. The light's a little bit overly bright, but I shoot videos when I can, and now's when I can. So here is our sweet potato. This is a sweet potato that we grew last year. It's been in the water, I don't know exactly how long. I'll add that. Here, let's change the light a little bit. Oh, that's much better. It's been in the water. I'll actually have to go back and look at my videos to check. I'll put it on the screen somewhere right about now. So what I'm going to be doing is popping off each of these plants and the roots, and that's going to become a sweet potato plant that is going to produce some absolutely amazing sweet potatoes for us. So I will insert some video of starting these right now. And now we're going to plant these in this bed right here. I've decided this year I'm going to plant more sweet potatoes than potatoes because they stored better for me last year and we were still eating them well into March, whereas our potatoes had sprouted and gotten soft well before then. So lots of sweet potatoes this year. Okay, let's get to planting. I'm going to plant probably 1, 2, 3, 4, I think I'm going to plant 5 sweet potatoes in this. This produced a ton of sweet potatoes. They like the heat, so it's kind of my thought the black plastic helps keep things warm for making something that's typically a southern crop work up here in western Pennsylvania. Okay, so going to gently break that plant off. We're going to break a few of them off, and then it might make it so it's easier to separate the roots. Okay. Now, there are a bunch of more coming on this plant. I'm going to put some toothpicks back in this and put it back in the water. It's going to produce more plants. Where I'm going to use those plants, I don't know, but there's something about just throwing out usable plants. We're just going to tuck him back in there. Okay, so from that one sweet potato, let's see how many plants we have. We've got one right here. Look at those beautiful roots. We're going to go ahead. Tuck that guy right in there. So there's one. The hard part here is going to be separating these roots out. I think if just going slow appears to be working just fine. So there's another. Now I probably could separate this one into 2. Yep, I'm gonna. There we go. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there's 8 new sweet potato plants to produce sweet potatoes for this season off of just 1 sweet potato. I need a bigger garden. So let's get some of these guys in. I'm going to keep these, I just have my mason jar here beside with some water in it and the sweet potato I popped these off of, just keeping the roots damp while I'm working here. Look at that. Look at that beautiful vine. All right, so we're going to go down in here. I want to go kind of down in deep so those roots can get moisture way down in the soil. Now my first year I planted sweet potatoes, I used these boxes, which I know you like crop rotation or whatever, but again, just the heat seems to work well, the heat from the black plastic. So I didn't bring the level of the soil all the way to the tippy top, and the plants did not do well until their leaves got up higher where they were getting more sun. So last year I had the soil up to the top. They were amazing. I'll show you some pictures of last year's harvest from this bin right here. All right. So there's one, I've got 6 sweet potato plants in here. It is a little thick for the amount of space, but I think that's about what I had last year, and it produced wonderfully. They tasted wonderful, and they stored really, really well. So let's see how they do this year. I've got, actually, I forgot, I've got a spot right here that I'm going to plant a few more. This is like a new bed that I added in. I've got, this is a composter. This is a top to a composter that somebody had given me that's kind of like cracked, doesn't stay together well. So I used it 2 years ago, and then I have the base of it set up over there that I'm going to put sweet potatoes in as well. I have a place that I think I'm going to make a new mound where we had moved our chicken coop for the summer. And then I've got a spot over here that's also in ground that I'm going to plant. So I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different spots in the garden where we have sweet potatoes. So I need to get a little water on these. It's pretty hot. I want to make sure that we get some good moisture down to their roots, and we'll plant another bed. One of the things I like to do for watering, especially because I'm impatient, I want to be doing other things in the garden, is I'll just set the hose just at a like real slow trickle, and while I'm working I'm just going to let that water trickle down in, and then just keep moving it around this bed. Watering is one of those things, like sometimes you feel like you have the space well watered because it looks damp. If you dig in about an inch, the soil should be wet about like, that deep in. So if the soil's not damp that deep in, you haven't watered enough. So be careful of surface watering where it looks damp, but if you even scratch the surface, it's dry underneath. You're not getting the water deep enough into the soil. You're not encouraging the roots to go down. You're encouraging them to stay towards the surface. And then if it does get dry, the roots aren't down deep enough to get moisture, and then they don't do real well. This is the next one I'm using. Now this is in a pot of soil. This was an experiment, so I just tried putting this sweet potato in the soil. Now I had used soil last year, and it seemed like when I went to get the plant off the sweet potato, it was harder to separate the plant and the root to be able to put it in, or there didn't seem like there was enough root. We'll see what this looks like. So I'm going to dump this whole thing. And there are all our roots. So let's see here. Got this. Okay. There we go. Put that soil back in there. So this is what that sweet potato looks like that's been down in the soil. Now, like, look at this plant. The plants that were the same size in the water had way more roots than this. And this was my hesitation in doing this again this year. But they did produce last year. So this was, like I said, experimenting, trying to find other ways to do this. We're just going to pop these plants off. Okay.
May I harvest out of your garden?
You may harvest out of my garden. What are you harvesting out of my garden, sir?
Garlic scapes for dinner.
Garlic scapes for dinner. That works for me. So here is one plant. This is kind of the mess. Look how much more vine I have from the soil, but significantly less root.
Escape-tastic.
Escape-tastic. I love you, baby.
Love you.
Like, look at the amount of vine here. And then that amount of root, which is nice. It's a nice amount of root. Okay, so I showed you that clump, that pot of sweet potato and all the vines. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one's a crazy one. 5, 6, 7, 8. So here's a second pot of sweet potatoes. You just saw me using some extra soil that was lying around and some compost mixed in. Kind of just added a sweet potato hill, if you will. And then I just put some old hay around. So this right here, a little bit of space for some sweet potatoes right beside the arch for our winter squash. Playful puppies, they have not gotten a walk yet today. So this one here, I'm interested to see what's in here. I put 2 small sweet potatoes. These were pretty small. Now this one developed everything below the soil. This one's wanting to produce everything up here at the end of the sweet potato plant. Let's see what it looks like when we dump it. Hey, Mr. Spider. Ooh, look at all those roots. All right. So I'm just going to try to work apart this mess here. Okay. So here's my fear on this one. All the roots are here. There's one root here. So I believe what I'm going to do with this one, let me see, yeah, you can see that, is I'm probably just going to put this in water like my other ones were and give this time to produce some roots off the bottom of these. That's what we're going to try on this one. So we're going to set that off to the side. All right, so let's take a look at this one. What do we have here? Okay, looks more promising. Okay. So I'm just breaking those roots and all off the plant. Now I'm going to hold off on these because these two look to me like they could develop some more root. I'm going to see with what's in here how much that's going to plant. What absolutely amazes me is I just took all those sweet potatoes off of this sweet potato right here. If I handed this to you and said, go cook this, you wouldn't hesitate. It's not soft, like it looks like just a regular sweet potato. And I think if I put this in water, it's going to produce more slips or back in soil. So I'm actually curious what the limitation is. Like, at what point would this stop producing more sweet potato plants for us? I have no idea. How many do you think I planted?
At least a dozen too many.
What would a dozen too many be?
3 dozen.
I'm under 3 dozen.
5.
A number.
1 hand.
Maybe.
You planted 30, didn't you?
I think 31.
31. No, oh yeah, 31. That would be the 1 hand. Alrighty.
We like sweet potatoes. So, just to go full disclosure for my husband here, he's standing at the fence. There are 6 there. There are 6 here. Up to, baby.
That's 12.
That's 12. Very good. And then right here, we've got 8.
Changed it.
12 plus 8, baby.
20.
Uh-oh, I forgot about 3.
Uh-huh.
Over here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops, I miscounted. We've got 9 over here.
29.
We're up to 29. Uh-oh. Let's go see. There's one more place.
Uh-huh.
There was a bed that magically just appeared.
Uh-huh.
Right here. And right there, there are 6 more.
So my 3 dozen statement wasn't that far off.
It was not that far off, but my statement that I was under 3 dozen was still true. By 1. He's such a goof. All right. I think I have an entirely too much footage for one video, so apologies. If you're still with me, thank you for watching the whole thing, because I have a feeling there's going to be quite a bit. It's going to be one of my longer videos, but thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.